Welcome to our student panel for our second virtual Mini-Thon Leadership Summit. We have a great group of speakers for you today, which I'll introduce to you in a moment. As with the other sessions you're in today, to ask a question, please go to the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen and type in your question anytime. You can even start now. So a staff member will be monitoring all the questions and will ask the panel. I'm Gail Cressetta, one of the Mini-Thon liaisons, and on the panel with me today, I have Chrissy Sprinkle from York Suburban High School. Chrissy was also a member of our Mini-Thon Student Leadership Council for the past 2 years. Chrissy, would you like to say a few words and tell us about your favorite Mini-Thon memory?
Hi, everyone. So it was hard to pick, but I think my favorite Mini-Thon memory was our 2020 event when we finally hit $100,000 that we raised. It was our first year reaching that milestone, so that was a really exciting event for us. So that's my favorite memory.
That's a great memory. I love that. I'm sure that was really special. Next, we have Troy Peters from Manheim Central High School. He's also joining us, and he was also a member of the Leadership Council this past year. Troy, tell us a bit about yourself and your favorite Mini-Thon memory.
Yeah, so I go to Manheim Central High School, and I've been in Mini-Thon for about 6 years. And my favorite memory was probably when we closed our flocking fundraiser and realized that we raised over $3,000 in one single event. So, I mean, that was just a great experience for everyone that was a part of it.
That's awesome. I love that. That was a great fundraiser for you guys. And we are really thrilled to have two members of the Penn State Thon on the panel today. Kate Colgan is the Executive Director of Thon 2022. Kate's also a past member of the Mini-Thon Student Leadership Council and was involved in Mini-Thon at Northern Middle School and Northern High School and held leadership positions there. Kate, tell us about you and your favorite Mini-Thon memory.
Hi, everyone. Like Gail said, I'm Kate. I'm the Executive Director for Thon this year. And I got my start in Mini-Thon. I absolutely loved being involved in Mini-Thon when I was in both middle and high school. My school had 2 Mini-Thons, which was so much fun. It was my favorite part of every day and the reason that I got up every day to go to school. My favorite Mini-Thon memory was actually my 8th grade year, so a long time ago. But we had done the total calculation at the end of our Mini-Thon event and realized that we had nearly doubled our total from the year before, which had been only our first Mini-Thon. And so I was the overall chairperson at that time, and my advisor and I were really excited. And we decided that we were going to play a little bit of a joke during the total reveal. So we flipped the first 2 numbers to make it look like we had raised about the same amount of money that we had the year before. And so we raised the total cards and everyone started cheering. And then he kind of yelled, he was like, wait. And then the 2 people at the front flipped to show that it was like double what it looked like it was originally. And everyone just went crazy. And it was so cool to see people celebrating us having raised so much money for kids that most of my fellow middle school kids didn't even know.
Oh, I love that. That's a great memory. Thanks, Kate. And we also have AJ Jakunski is the Thon student outreach captain this year. He was also a member of the Leadership Council when he was in high school. He was executive director of his Mini-Thon at Lancaster Catholic High School and also a 4 Diamonds family. Please welcome our panelist, AJ. And would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your favorite Mini-Thon memory?
Yes, hi everyone, I'm AJ. I went to Lancaster Catholic High School and now within Thon, I am one of the 2 outreach coordinators. So within this role, we get to work a lot with Mini-Thon students and prospective students to get them involved in Thon and welcome into the Penn State community and the Thon community, which has been really rewarding so far. And my favorite Thon memory actually is my senior year, the week of our Mini-Thon event, I got sick and was out of school for a couple of days. And it was very stressful because obviously a lot of work goes in during that last week. But it was really special to see the other leaders sort of step up and be a part of this community to make sure that the event could still happen and that even in my absence, everything still got done and they all stepped up to take the lead and lead the Lancaster Catholic community to a successful event. even though I couldn't be there the week leading up. And it was our most successful mini-thon we had. So it was really cool to see that from the outside.
Wow, that's awesome. Really great memories. I love it. So again, go ahead, people attending the session here, feel free to type any questions in the Q&A there. I'm going to turn this over now to my colleagues Anne-Louise DeBoard and Becky Byler, and they will manage the questions.
Hi guys, thank you. Loved hearing all of your background of Mini-Thon and Thon. Thank you so much for joining us today. I have a question about your virtual Mini-Thons. How did you engage participants in a virtual setting?
I can go. So we didn't have a virtual Mini-Thon event, but we did have some virtual smaller events like our calls from Santa in the winter to keep people engaged in the colder months when it's not so popular, when we couldn't be outside and socially distanced that way. So we did things like that. And then, but our main event we were able to have in a hybrid setting outside.
Anyone else? How about AJ or Kate to just sort of do it from the college perspective? You certainly had a much larger group of students to engage with. So how did you do that and get them excited about participating?
Yeah, definitely. It was a huge undertaking. Like you said, Anne-Louise, we had, 15,000 people that we were trying to remain engaged with. And we started really just throughout the year by giving our organizations and our committees ideas for ways to continue to keep their members engaged. So we started kind of from the ground up from the beginning of the year and set that precedent of that people were going to be engaged throughout the entire year and not just when it came to Thon weekend. So giving them materials to play games during meetings or presentations that they could share so that they could learn more about certain things that they might not have before. And so continuing to give them ways to be engaged throughout the year. And then during Thon weekend, we had an engagement guide that had a lot of great ideas for activities that people could be doing while they were watching the live stream that we held, and more interactive performances and things that they could be watching and could feel more engaged with. So lots of different ways, but it was definitely something that we started from the beginning of the year, and I think that was really important, was that we had set that foundation from the very beginning.
That's incredible. You guys did such an amazing job. It was really inspiring to see, how you were able to do that this year and really took on that challenge so successfully. So let's go with our next question. How did you keep your leadership team engaged in planning? And how were you able to keep, your committee members motivated to continue to participate in this virtual world and then sort of keep them excited to this upcoming year? Troy, do you mind answering that a little bit from Manheim Central's perspective?
Yeah, of course. So our biggest thing this year to keep our team motivated and engaged in everything was to continually remind them what we're doing it for. This is for 4 Diamonds. This is our big event. We want to raise money for this charity. It's a great cause. And we kept pushing the 4 Diamonds mission statement out at them. We're just reminding them that all of their hard work is going to an amazing place and that none of this will be done in vain because we had an in-person event and they were able to see at the end that their hard work paid off. We made our total, and I'm hoping that they're looking forward to doing the same thing again next year. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. AJ, do you just want to sort of hit on that from the college perspective?
Yeah, so last year I was fortunate to serve as a family relations captain. With my co-captains, we were really able to help Thon volunteers engage with the families and engage with our mission because, truly without our mission, Thon is just another organization, but our families and our mission brings us to that next level and makes us such an incredible organization to be a part of. Being able to work closely with the families and student volunteers to just remind them, we are here for the kids, for the families. You hear it all the time, but it's truly why Thon exists, why Mini-Thon exists, why Four Diamonds exists. So it was really rewarding to be able to help them find their motivation and find inspiration from the families to keep going, even when we couldn't meet in person or couldn't have that amazing weekend in the BJC, but to still find their why they thon.
I love it. Corinne, I hope that answered your question a little bit of being motivating and inspiring to your leadership team for next year. I think Becky has our next question to ask the panel.
Sure, and this can go for Mini-Thon and Thon as well. How do you educate freshmen or first years on what Mini-Thon or Thon is and encourage them to get involved? What's a good way to reach out to students that are just coming on and want to learn more?
I can jump in here.
Okay.
So first year engagement is incredibly important because that's where they not just learn about what the organization is, but also, understand that it's a community at your school and it's an organization that you can choose to be a part of. And the same goes for Thon and Mini-Thon. It's a large community, maybe not large, but it's a community that a lot of people care about and put a lot of time into. So the best way to educate them is to show them what you do. Have an event that is geared towards first year students or freshmen where they can learn about not just Mini-Thon, but learn about what you do all year, the different events, how they can be involved, whether they have to be on a committee or they can just be like sort of a general member that attends different events, and just sort of outlining everything that they can do to be a part of and telling them that they can be as involved or as little involved as possible. And I think that's one of the most important things is to not set that expectation that they have to be a leader. They can just participate with their friends and still make an impact on the organization.
Thank you. Anybody, and you guys, and Thon holds like an involvement fair too, don't they, in the beginning of the year too?
Yeah.
I think high schools could also, use that as well, do something like that. Anybody else have anything? Okay, and Louise can step up with the next question.
Had to find my unmute. It disappeared on me. Sorry, guys. If your school did not hold a Mini-Thon this year, how are you planning to get Mini-Thon back up and running? And after Troy and Chrissy sort of comment on that, maybe Kate and AJ have some suggestions as well, because I know engagement is really a big question that a lot of our Mini-Thon schools have, how, to get people more involved and more excited in the program.
I can start off with that. So we did have a Mini-Thon this year, but if we didn't, and we had a plan for if we didn't, we were going to start next year by hitting them hard with, we are still an event, we are still involved in this school. And even though we did not have one last year, we were planning to have one this year and nothing has changed. Because I know when you don't have an event one year, people tend to look at it and try to figure out like whether or not it's going to be different or if it's just not going to happen anymore. So I would suggest when you get back in the school year, get your leadership team together and find a way to tell the entire school that this event is still going on and that it's still important. I know that's definitely going to be the biggest thing because you don't want anybody questioning whether or not it's going to happen. So I know we have a relatively early kickoff, like kickoff push week type thing. It's in December. So that'll be a great time to get out there, spread the word, let people know, and then have an event in the next, later that school year. And hopefully that'll, that kickoff assembly will give you the publicity you need to make sure that everybody knows that you're still there.
We did have a Mini-Thon, like I said. It wasn't our normal, of course, but we did get to have one. And I would just say if you didn't, just to not slow down and just keep going with whatever you can, and be flexible as you approach this year. And echo what Troy said about communication with your community, and just letting them know that you're still around and you still have plans to continue and go on. And earlier in one of the videos, they said that COVID paused a lot of things, but not pediatric cancer. So that's a nice thing that you can include in your advertising.
Yeah, I don't think that I can do much better than Troy and Chrissy did. But again, just hitting the ground running from the very beginning. If you can go into your school year with a little bit of a plan as how you're going to start to promote Mini-Thon right from the very beginning, that'll make a big difference and won't leave you scrambling. Another thing to consider is it takes people seeing things a lot of times before it registers. There's actually a statistic that says it's called the rule of 7. It takes someone seeing something 7 times before they're willing to act on it. So just keep getting it out there, keep reminding people and telling people, because it's going to take them a long time before it registers, even though that seems like that shouldn't be the case. Just keep putting it out there.
I think too, you don't have to reinvent the wheel to get your event back running. Look at what you did for years before, and just start implementing those same things, because your school could have made a lot of progress with their event, and there's no reason to go back on that. So definitely pick up where you left off as best as you can, and use a lot of the tools that you learned on from previous years and notes from previous leaders to get it back up and running.
Thanks, guys. Great answers. And Kate, can I tell you how much I love you mentioned the rule of 7, because we say that all the time in our presentations for that. And also really about starting early, because if you have that plan already in place as the school year begins and life starts to get really busy, you already have the hard work laid out ahead of you. So now you can just implement it. Thank you. Becky, I think there's a great question in the Q&A box.
Yep. So this question came in and is, how do you get more upperclassmen involved? My school just switched from the Mini-Thon being run by the student council to being its own club. And many people seem to not know about the club or not be interested. Is there any, Troy or Chrissy, or how are your Mini-Thons run, and how do you get the word out about it?
Well, our Mini-Thon is run, it's part of student council, but it's mostly run by a separate leadership team. It's a separate leadership structure, and it is mostly upperclassmen that are running it, which sort of helps with like their friend groups get involved through that. So if you have upperclassmen leadership and upperclassmen are involved in your Mini-Thon club, and you can get them involved and have them just spread it out to their friends, the rule of, or the word of mouth really works a lot. And then just to keep your Mini-Thon fresh and exciting, because our problem at my school was just that they were like, why would I go to that? We already know what's going to happen. We're just going to stand around for 12 hours and do the same thing as always. So just try and introduce new things and keep it exciting, because that was why we were seeing that upperclassmen weren't coming, because they thought they knew what was going to happen and they didn't think they were going to be surprised. So try and find new ideas, and you can find a lot of good ideas on FDK Nation about cool things to introduce at your Mini-Thon to keep them engaged.
I know one of the things that we did to our Mini-Thon that was new this year that helped get upperclassmen involved was we usually do a guys court at our Sadie's dance, which is in the winter, but we had that ended up being canceled because we couldn't have an indoor event and it was freezing. So we moved our guys court, which is basically just a homecoming court just with all guys. We run everything else exactly the same. We moved it to our Mini-Thon. So that means that we had 10 guys that were all being introduced at the event, and they all had escorts. And so that ended up bringing those 20 people then all came to the event, and then all of their friends came because we announced the winner there. So if you announce the guys court early enough, you might be able to get some more like upperclassmen involved in the event. If they're interested in seeing who wins, they might want to help out with something else at the event. And it can go a long way if you just try to get a couple more people to come in odd or different ways. And I know we had a teacher get in the dunk tank, so he was an upperclassman teacher. So they just absolutely like loved the idea of getting to dunk him outside for like 2 hours straight. So
I love that. I also feel like getting a loved teacher involved is a great idea. Gets more kids involved as well. And Louise, off to you.
So this question came in from one of our attendees. Do you have Mini-Thon events and fundraisers year round?
yes. So I'll start with that. I know, like I was saying, when you meet with your leadership team right away in the summer, we pick on a normal year, we would pick everybody the spring right after our mini-thon for the following year. And then they will work around the summer to get our events set up and then into the school year. So we did flocking started in September, and that went all the way to October, like the end of last week of October. And then we had a virtual 5K. We had candy grams, like we do donut sales on a normal year. We couldn't do it this year. So like we kind of try to do one big event a month or one big event every other month and a small event in between the big events. So like a high I don't want to say high stress, like the ones that involve more like details to get started, we would do every other month. And the ones that are easier, we would just throw in wherever we wanted. So we did fundraising from September all the way to May.
Yeah, we have events not every month, but we do have them year round. And I would say it's all about balance. If that sounds really intimidating, it is pretty intimidating. I would just say know your market, and you don't have to do an event that targets the same group. Like 1 month we'll do an event that's for like a car wash, so that's for the community. The next event would be like the drive-in, so that would be more for like the high schoolers. And then the next event would be like the calls from Santa, and that would be more of like the younger kids. So that way, like the people that you're marketing to don't get burnt out, and your leadership team you're giving them variety so they don't get tired either. So you just want to make sure like don't feel pressured to do that, because you don't want to sacrifice the quality of your events for quantity.
I can come in with a question. This is a question that I thought would be useful for everyone. And so anybody that has a great answer, we're just looking for, how would you keep your meetings? Like, do you do any icebreakers when you start to meet? Like, how do you keep your meetings fresh and fun before you get to the nitty-gritty stuff? I know Thon has to have great like icebreakers and fun things that they do.
Yeah, I can chime in. So for our committee member meetings, there's typically an icebreaker that's done every week. And something else that we do to keep the meetings just kind of fresh, like you said, Becky, is we will have, there's usually a set of presentations on different things that committee members are being taught every week. And so typically a different member of each committee presents a different kind of presentation. So the family presentations, the family stories are being presented by one person, and the Thon education PowerPoints are being presented by a different person. And so it kind of helps break up having one person talking for the whole 2 hours when you break it up and you have a couple different people talking and you have a video in the middle, and things like that. That definitely helps keep our meetings a little bit more engaging.
I think another way that you can sort of break the ice also within like leadership right away is when everyone's picked, having like a day where you don't necessarily talk about anything Mini-Thon related. You just play games and like icebreakers and get to know each other. And that's a great opportunity to just bond as a team, because when you sort of know each other and know how each other work, and you know each other more personally, you're able to work better together. And that's something we did at Lancaster Catholic when we were all chosen, and it really helped us just come together as a community quickly so that we could plan things and work together better in the future.
Thank you so much for those answers, guys. AJ and Kate, you both were involved in your school's Mini-Thons, and now clearly very involved in Penn State's Thon. How do you see them? Were they the same, and how are they different?
Yeah, I can go first. So obviously I see a lot of overlap in that the mission is the same and the people are just as passionate in both organizations, and the amount of good that we do on a daily basis is very similar. I also see differences though in that Thon is such a massive organization, which is not what I was used to at Mini-Thon, and that took me a really long time to adjust to. at my Mini-Thon, I was one of, 20 or 30 people who were wanting to be involved heavily. And at Thon, I was one of 15,000 people who wanted to be involved heavily. And so that was definitely something that took some getting used to. And I think there's advantages to both. But yeah, like I said, Thon is a very large organization. And so that's one of the biggest differences, I think, is just the number of people and the different ways that people can be involved that are a little bit different from Mini-Thon. But like I said, at the end of the day, it's so cool to see that we're all still fighting for the same cause, and we're still raising money for the same organization, and we have one shared mission at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think I could say it any better than Kate did. No matter where you are, whether you're a Mini-Thon, you're a 4Diamond staff member, you're part of the Thon community, you're still part of this one community that is fighting for a single mission and a single cause. And whether when you start in Mini-Thon and if you go on to be a part of Thon, like the reason you are involved doesn't have to change. Like you can carry that with you, and you can also learn more and expand that why you Thon statement, which is one of the coolest similarities, is being able to carry what I learned and the experiences I had in Mini-Thon over to Thon, and continue to grow on those and to meet more passionate volunteers, and to continue to have those awesome experiences.
Becky, do you have the next question teed up?
I can. This could go for Troy and Chrissy. And how did you overcome any obstacles with administrative approval of Mini-Thon? And do you have any suggestions to help anybody with that?
Yeah, so I had a strict administration at our school, especially this year. We've had issues in previous years, but like this year alone, they really did not want to approve any event that was out of school hours that was inside at all. So we constantly were having battles with them, proposing ideas, and then they were coming back saying no, and they were asking us to come back with a new plan. So I know I met with our principal a lot during the school year, trying to go over what we couldn't do, and eventually worked out a plan where we could have an outdoor event at the stadium just in the evening. But my advice would be, don't give up and keep modifying your plans. And then I know the one thing our principal really loved, if we came in with a solid plan and we had answers for him, he would be more willing to let us have that event. Where if we came in and said, this event would be fun to do, how do you feel about it? Like, so just go in with a plan, don't give up, and like, don't give in easily. Just keep pushing for what you want, because it is really possible to get everything that you really want for the school year. Just they'll give in eventually, I promise.
Thanks for that, Troy.
Yeah, very nice.
Don't give up. We love that. So let's ask a quick question about donor drive for all of you. Donor drive is still a topic that some are a little afraid of. Oh, Gail, do we need to begin to wrap up? Or can we do one more question?
We're almost to the end here. So I just want to take a moment. Sorry, that's a good lead in, Anne Louise, because the next session is donor drive. So, so everybody can join donor drive and ask some donor drive related questions.